In the quiet soil of Europe, something ancient once glimmered beneath centuries of dust. Not a coin, not a crown, but a hat, long, slender, and made entirely of hammered gold. One surfaced in a Bavarian field, another appeared beneath a forgotten mound in France. A third emerged from the marshes of Switzerland, and the last lay hidden for ages near Leipzig, Germany. 4 hats, 4 strange relics, each separated by hundreds of miles and likely hundreds of years. Yet they bear an eerie similarity, as if forged by the same forgotten hand. At first glance, they appear ceremonial, tall, conical caps that might have adorned the heads of Bronze Age priests or chieftains. But their design raises deeper questions. Each one is covered in intricate patterns, bands of dots, zigzags, solar discs, and lunar symbols. They are too precise to be decorative alone, too mathematical to be random. Who crafted these gleaming spires, and for what purpose? Mainstream scholars have suggested they were ritual headpieces, or perhaps astronomical tools, calendars worn atop the heads of stargazing sages. But others are not so certain. Because hidden in those symbols is a pattern, one that suggests knowledge far ahead of its time. And the very shape of the hats, tapering to a single point, has led some to wonder, what if they weren't hats at all? What if they were devices, receivers, transmitters, tools for harnessing thought or controlling it? And what if, just what if, they were not made for men, but given to them? They stand like golden towers, slender and gleaming, their surfaces covered in signs no tongue now speaks. Each hat, or should one call it a device, shares a similar form, a long tapering cone rising as high as a man's forearm. Thin as parchment, yet strong enough to survive 3,000 winters. They were made of gold, beaten so fine it bends like cloth. No seams, no joins. Only one continuous skin, shaped, folded, and adorned with patterns that seem more written than merely engraved. What purpose could such an object serve? It is too tall and unstable for practical wear, too delicate for battle, and yet too precise to be art for art's sake. Each surface is divided into rings and bands. Dots run in exact sequences. Circles repeat in intervals that align not with chance, but with the heavens. 19 moons, 29 days, 365 suns. Lunar solar cycles embedded in gold. Who, in the Bronze Age, tracked the skies with such care? To modernize, the hats are puzzles. To ancient ones, perhaps they were maps or keys. Calendrical computers, some say, notched with coded time, worn only by those who understood their rhythm. But there are other, stranger interpretations. Some believe the hats were placed upon the heads of chosen men, sages, seers, or kings, not just to elevate their status, but to transform their minds. The cone could act as a conductor, a link between the mind and the cosmos, between the skull and something else. Could they have been tools for attuning thought, or instruments meant to channel energy, signal intelligence, or receive instruction? In ancient traditions, headgear was more than protection or decoration. Crowns, mitres, and headdresses often symbolized divine right, even divine contact. And in these golden hats, worn in ritual and secrecy, might lie the echo of such beliefs. Or perhaps they were never meant to be worn at all. In the eyes of scholars, the golden hats are tools of calculation, ancient computers cast in gold. They point to the lunar symbols, the solar repetitions, the metonic cycles. They say, these were the instruments of Bronze Age astronomers, worn perhaps by the learned few to track eclipses, guide the planting of crops, or time the rites of kings. But there is a problem. The hats predate writing in much of Europe. They come from a time before books, before parchment, before even alphabets. And yet the patterns they encode reflect a knowledge that seems out of place, a knowledge of celestial precision that should not have existed. Who were these ancient timekeepers? Where did their knowledge come from? Did they gaze at the stars night after night, tracking cycles by torchlight until the patterns emerged? Or did someone, or something, give them the code? The hats speak in silence, but the code they carry is unmistakable. Each band of symbols represents a mathematical cycle: days, months, solar years, lunar eclipses, even the elusive 18.6-year cycle of the moon's orbit, something not documented by modern science until millennia later. Why would Bronze Age societies with no known writing track such celestial movements with such accuracy? Could these hats be more than ritual calendars? In some traditions, knowledge of the stars is sacred, a gift passed down from sky beings, gods, or watchers. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, bearers of forbidden knowledge. The Dogon people of Africa described beings from the Sirius system, bringing astronomical truths they could not have otherwise known. Is it so strange, then, to wonder whether Europe had its own encounter? Were the wearers of these hats not merely astronomers, but interpreters, chosen vessels through which the sky whispered its secrets? Or were they guardians of something they did not fully understand, following instructions left behind by those who vanished before time remembered their names? And most unsettling of all, did the knowledge flow only one way? What are symbols, if not the echoes of language long forgotten? Each golden hat is wrapped in mystery, covered from base to tip in repeating motifs, spirals, dots, rings, and rows, all laid with uncanny precision. Some appear abstract, others unmistakably celestial. The sun, the moon, the wheel of the heavens. But is that all they are? Decorative remnants of some lost priesthood? Or are these signs more than symbols? Hidden in the design are mathematical rhythms, coded intervals that align with known astronomical cycles. The 19-year metonic cycle, the 11-year solar activity cycle, even longer progressions that hint at a far-reaching understanding of the cosmos. Some researchers have attempted to read the hats like scrolls of gold. When decoded, the number of dots and rings aligns not only with days in the year, but with complex calendrical systems used thousands of years later. So who encoded this data, and why in such a strange vertical form? The hats seem to encode motion of planets, stars, and moons. But unlike books or charts, their information is not meant to be seen, but perhaps experienced. Could wearing such a hat alter perception, focus thought, amplify a mind tuned to the rhythms of the cosmos? In modern neuroscience, we know that brain waves can be influenced by geometry, by electromagnetic fields, even by sound. And the conical form of the hats, long, spiraling, narrowing to a point, has a curious effect on energy flow. Some fringe physicists suggest that cones focus fields. Others claim they distort time. Could these ancient people have known something we've forgotten? In sacred architecture, pyramids, ziggurats, domes, the same principle recurs. height, angle, alignment. Structures built not just for shelter, but for channeling power. So why not hats? If temples can align with stars, why not the human mind? And if these golden spirals were more than symbolic, if they formed a circuit, a system, then we must ask, what was being activated, and by whom? There are ideas whispered only at the edge of respectable thought, ideas that linger in the footnotes of history, dismissed with a nervous laugh, but never truly silenced. What if the golden hats were not just tools for astronomy, but instruments of control, not of the stars, but of the mind? Consider their shape once more, tapering to a fine point, like an antenna, crowned in ancient patterns, like circuits or coils, lined with cosmic sequences, as if tuned to something outside. Modern science has revealed that the human brain produces electromagnetic waves. That thought itself can be mapped, shaped, even altered. Could the hats have enhanced this natural resonance, focused the mind, opened perception, or introduced suggestions? In ancient tales, we hear of voices from the heavens, burning chariots in the sky, shining ones who spoke without moving their lips. Gods, or something else? Throughout ancient Europe, there are stories of knowledge descending from above, of star teachers who gifted calendars, agriculture, metals, and laws. The Druids of the Celts, it is said, could hear the will of the gods in groves of oak, and wore mysterious headdresses during their rites. Were they listening or obeying? And what of the wearers of the golden hats? Were they kings or conduits? Did they rule their people with wisdom? Or did they enforce ideas they themselves could not understand, ideas implanted by minds not their own? This is the forbidden hypothesis, that the hats were more than ceremonial, more than computational, that they were technological relics, artifacts of contact with an intelligence not born of Earth, not just devices to measure time, but devices to transmit will, to tune the minds of early humans, to receive, to obey. And if such technology existed once, buried now in gold and myth, then the question is not whether it was real, but whether it was used, and whether it still is. The golden hats are silent. But silence is not absence. They remain, locked behind glass in quiet museums, labeled as Bronze Age ritual objects. Yet their presence hums softly, like the fading echo of something ancient trying to speak. Are they warnings? Are they keys? Or are they fragments of a forgotten system still whispering to those who know how to listen? We gaze upon them now with modern eyes, cataloging patterns, measuring gold content, theorizing about lunar calendars. But perhaps we are asking the wrong questions. What if these objects were not meant to be understood in isolation, but as part of a greater map, a global matrix of lost knowledge, one stretching from Stonehenge to the pyramids, from the Indus Valley to the Andes? What if each strange artifact left behind, the golden hats, the crystal skulls, the unexplained alloys, are not isolated anomalies, but puzzle pieces, not of human invention, but of an inheritance we were never meant to understand? We like to believe history is linear, that knowledge moves forward, yet these golden spirals suggest another truth, that something once surged upward and then fell silent. A lost peak of understanding, spiritual, scientific, or something beyond both. The hats are remnants. But remnants of what? A priesthood guided by stars? A vanished civilization whose memory crumbled to myth? Or the touch of minds that were never ours to begin with? Perhaps they still speak, not in words, but in the language of shape, rhythm, and resonance. Perhaps one day, someone will listen, and the hats will awaken. Until then, they remain, golden, hollow, and waiting. If these ancient relics truly hold secrets about our forgotten past, or even our place in a greater cosmic story, what else might be hidden in plain sight? And what do you believe? Leave your thoughts below. Could the golden hats be more than ritual, more than myth? If you found this journey intriguing, mysterious, or mind-expanding, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories lost to time and waiting to be uncovered. The past is not finished. It's only buried.